What's up, folks? Jorge Anito here. Thanks for stopping by. Today, we're going to be reviewing the new Fontaines. Well, they're not really new. This is the Fontain Sleight Editions. These are a re-release of a previous release from Zach Mueller a few years back. He just recently reprinted a bunch of his decks, and so this was one of them, Sleight Edition, Fontaine. And so we're going to check these cards out, and we're also I'm going to do a tutorial on a Chris Ramsay endorsed card trick. I say he endorsed it. What I mean is I actually posted a trick with Chris Ramsay's first V2 playing cards a while back on Instagram, and Chris Ramsay himself got on there. I tagged him in it. He got on there and he actually viewed the trick and he gave it the thumbs up. Or well, on Instagram it's the heart. So he liked the trick, and so I was very encouraged by that because he's a pretty big guy with, millions of followers. And so for him to personally check out my trick and give it the thumbs up or the like, that kind of meant a lot to me. So I'm going to do that trick and teach that today in this tutorial. But really quick, we're going to check out Zach Mueller's Sleight Edition Fontaines. And so they have this dark blue back with a very thin poker border. I like the thin poker borders. I don't know, I think it just kind of adds some class. They're traditionally cut, which means they're going to faro from front to back. I'm pretty sure it's a crushed stock. They're really thin, but they are snappy. So anyway, what you're going to get with this deck is you'll get a blank card as a gaff. You can obviously use that. We're actually going to use that in this trick that I'm going to do. But all the faces, they're completely standard. Just a complete standard faced deck. And so the jokers are identical, which is always a plus. For magicians, obviously you can do some pretty cool switches and transpose, and obviously they're good for sandwich routines. So that's what the jokers look like. You'll also get an ad card, which is similar to the joker, that just has some ad stuff on it. The ace of spades is fairly simple, but yet and minimal. But I tend to lean toward minimalistic design, and so you have the chunky indice or pip with the Fontaine logo striped going through the ace of spade. They handle really, really well. Like I said, they're traditional cut. They have to be crushed stock because I think Chris Ramsay's V2s, I'm pretty sure these are double crushed just because they're so thin and so soft. These are similar to that, but not as soft, so I think they're just singly crushed. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into this trick. Now, I'll link my original performance of the video that Chris Ramsay himself actually saw in the description. But for right now, all we need is we're going to use 2 jokers and we're going to use a mystery card. Yes, it's a mystery card plot. So we have 2 jokers, and I have that card right here. We're going to get back to it here just a little bit later on. So at this point, I would just have the spectator just say stop wherever they would like. Let's say they say stop right here. Say okay. It's the five of spades, and we just want to take it and place it somewhere in the center. And to be fair, I just go ahead and show the spectator that yes, that is your card. It's at this point where the jokers come in, and just with a quick swipe, we take, or a card ends up in between the jokers. Now, in theory, this should be the selection of the spectator, which was the 5 of spades. But we've had a card sitting here the whole time. If their selection was sitting up there. So that's the trick, guys. It's really simple. It's just a simple sandwich routine with a little switch. Very, very easy, but it is fooling, especially, it takes people off guard because, at least in my experience, because if they've seen sandwich effects in the past, you know, that they know what happens. Their selection is going to at some point wind up between these two cards, but the mystery card plot kind of throws an extra flair in it. So anyway, what you do is basically, and what I like to do is use basically any ad card that comes with the deck. Chris Ramsay has, the card I used was his snake card. Actually right there on top. That's the card that I used as my mystery card. And you don't have to reveal it at first, but I just kind of like to. I usually start by saying, okay, we're going to use 2 jokers, and then I have a card right here, a blank card. We're going to get back to that in a minute, and you kind of want to take attention away from this card and talk about, okay, so we have these 2 cards, and what we want to do is, I'm going to have you make a selection. And so really, any way that you can have the spectator make a selection and control it to the top, that's what you want to do. I just simply, I did a real simple control where whenever they say stop, let's say they say stop right here, when I flip it over, it's the king of spades. When I flip it over, I'm depositing this card on top of that one. So I'm sure most of you are already familiar with that. And it happens so fast that you really can't, you can't even tell, right? So they think that's their card. Obviously, it's a card that's deposited on top. Let me clean up this handling just a little bit. So, okay. So we got the 5 of clubs. Go ahead and take their selection, which is obviously a card you just deposited on top. I move this whole packet on top. That way, when they see what they think is their card going somewhere in the middle, that leaves me in the position of their card now being on top. I go ahead and leave the card sticking out for just a second, and in order to get into a pinky break, because that's what you're going to need to do in order to load their card, I go ahead and just say, okay, to be fair, I'm just going to show you that that is your card sticking up. There's no switches. And then when I bring the pack together, I go ahead and snag a pinky break and then go right into the jokers. I say it's at this point where we're going to go ahead and use the jokers. I go ahead and get them ready. And all I do is just say with one quick swipe, 1, 2, 3. On 3, I pull back with the right hand and I push in with the left index. And so that gives it the impression, obviously, that that card has just jumped over into the sandwich. So it's like, so it kind of has a cool little visual thing. And like I said, I'll link the original video in the description. So you're at the point where you're left with their selection. They don't know that yet. And then we still have the mystery card. Okay, so at this point you execute a Mexican switch. And all that is I'm switching that card for that card, and I'm retaining the mystery card. This happens really quick, and to get into it, it makes it a little bit easier if you actually just kind of hold your finger there. And whenever you come in to scoop, as soon as this top card hits your thumb, go ahead and grab it, flip over with your right index, and then swipe away just to make it look like all you did was just That's the action you're imitating there. Okay, so just to kind of recap, you have their card in your hand. You have the mystery card here, and you say, we've had this card in plain view the whole time, and in theory, the card that got sandwiched between the jokers should be your card, but we also have this mystery card. And I just come in, execute the switch, and show that the blank card was the one that actually got pulled out. Guys, that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a simple trick. It's fairly easy. It's just a sandwich with a mystery card plot thrown into it. So, hey, thank you for stopping by. Fontaines are an excellent deck. This is actually my first deck of Fontaines ever owned. I've never had a deck of Fontaines. So I picked up a couple. There may be a few left on his site. I'm not really sure, but there are tons on eBay. And obviously with these type of decks, if you can find them at a good price, it's best, in my opinion, to go ahead and pick them up, because these are a desirable deck. Kind of like anything by Noel Heath. So anyone worldwide, those type of decks, Fontaines, they go like hotcakes. So if you can find them, in my opinion, it's best to just go ahead and grab them up. These are the Sleight Editions. So once again, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.